ya kutia mkono sheria kwa sababu ilikuwa imepita viwango vyote, nikaletewa na speaker. Bahati mbaya tukapoteza waziri wetu mkuu wa zamani, lakini tayari nilikuwa ofisini kwa hiyo kazi. Hata nilikuwa nimevaa shati, nilikuwa naenda Ukambani kwa mambo ya barabara. So I was on duty just like any other citizen. Hakuna kitu ya kuficha, hakuna kitu ya giza, hakuna kitu inafanywa usiku. We are doing the right thing for Kenya. We want to protect this nation from situations that undermine the well-being of the young people of our nation, the well-being of the people of Kenya, the security of the country, na yale mambo mengine ambayo yatatusaidia. Wale wanaosema.
Now, the Central Organization of Trade Unions, that is called to Secretary General Francis Atwoli, has urged Kenyans to use the death of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga as a unifying factor. While speaking during the burial of the father of the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, on Thursday, October 23rd, Atwoli noted that in the past, death have acted as unifying factors. Atwoli went on to state that after the death of Tom Mboya, the country united, the same as when Jaramogi, rather J.M. Kariuki died, saying that it is only funerals that bring people together, especially those who were warring parties before. Now he urged the nation to rally behind President William Ruto, insisting that he has the ability to deliver to Kenyans.
Kuchukua simu mpigie na achukue. Kila wakati anaona kama huyu mtu ananipigia simu atakuniomba ama hatoshei cheo changu na hafai kunipigia. Kubwa wachache sana. Na wewe pia na mkubwa yako Murkomen na Head of Public Service, na naweza kumention wachache katika serikali yetu ya sasa ambao hata ukipiga simu saa 6 ya usiku atachukua. Na ndio kazi yetu. Na hiyo ndio midhamu mzuri mzali kufundisha. Na pia tusisahau mambo ya mchungaji alisema, mambo ya imani. Ni lazima tushikilie imani kwa serikali yetu, imani kwa kila kitu. Nilipromise nitakuwa kwa ufupi. Nataka kumalizia nikiwaambia hivi kama mzee. Mazishi ama kifo ndio kinaleta watu pamoja. Wale waliokuwa wazima wakati wa marehemu Tom Mboya, Kenya yote ilikuja pamoja. Wakati marehemu J.M. Kariuki alipokufa, Kenya yote ilikuja pamoja. Wakati tulipoteza wakubwa wetu wote, Kenya yote ilikuja pamoja. Kwa hivyo nataka kuambia kwamba mazishi ndio huleta watu pamoja, familia pamoja. Kenyans, let us remain united. We have an able president, an ability ya kutuserve. Akiangalia nyuma tuone, ndio asidi kuwa na nguvu za kuserve sisi. I thank you.
Umesahau kuambia watu uko na bibi kapi.
Now, the chairperson of Royal Media Services, Dr. S.K. Macharia, yesterday visited the grave of the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to pay his final respects to his long-time friend and associate. Dr. Macharia laid flowers at Raila's grave at Kangoka Jaramogi in Bondo before meeting and consoling members of the Odinga family. Speaking during the visit, Dr. Macharia recalled how his friendship with Raila began many years ago, inspired by the words of Raila's late father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, during their last encounter. He said Jaramogi had urged him to look after his two sons, a request that laid the foundation of his enduring friendship with the Odinga family. Dr. Macharia described Raila as a visionary leader and patriot whose legacy will continue to inspire generations of Kenyans.
I walked him downstairs and put him in the car to come to Bodo and come back to Nairobi the following week. As I put him in the car in Nairobi, he told me he has two sons, one called Oburu and one called Laira. and I'm warder of them, of the two of them. I take care of them.
In early 1992, sometimes in March, when, do I say I lost my job? Or I'll say I was sacked? I was sacked for the second time. The people who reached me first was SK. When that happened, I moved to Ajip House, where Jaramogi's office was, and SK came there, and he thought I was the secretary, but actually I acted like one in Jaramogi's
heart. Mama, take heart.
Thank you.
We'll fight him there. He's a great man. He was a great man. Just like his father. Like father, like son. He was a great father. For this country, he has given to this country what we don't know. Maybe the history will tell us. But for now, we don't know anybody else.
Right now, Mount Kenya East governors led by UDA chairperson Cecily Barire have called out their Nyeri counterpart, that is Mutahi Kahiga, over his remarks on ODM leader Raila Odinga's death, saying they were reckless and unbecoming of a leader. Governor Barire noted that from Mount Kenya East, the governors who met in Tharaka Nithi defended the government and its development record in the region, disputing the narrative that it has moved development to other regions.
Culture does not involve making mockery or celebrating other human beings or other human lives' death. It does not matter the relationship we had with those people when they were alive. It is not our culture to celebrate even the worst of our enemies' death, if there is such a thing, because we know that life is given by God and life is taken by God, and therefore we cannot have mockery or have jokes.
Imeshtua kila mtu katika Kenya, na kwa sababu tuko hapa kama magavana wa Mount Kenya East, tungetaka kusema matamshi ya Governor Kahiga ilikuwa ni yake peke yake. Sisi kama magavana wa Mount Kenya East na watu wetu wa Mount Kenya East hatuamini kamwe aliyoyasema. Tunajua ya kwamba development imekuwa ikikuja hapa pande yetu. Tumeona mabarabara ikija.
All right, moving on, Molo, Member of Parliament Kuria Kimani has joined other Kenyans and leaders in strongly condemning the remarks made by the Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga. Speaking in Mombasa, Kimani urged Kenyans to ignore the controversial statements and not to take them seriously or use them as a cause for conflict, warning that such tensions could drag the nation into instability. He also appealed to leaders offended by Kahiga's remarks to respond carefully, cautioning that harsh replies might fuel greater hatred among leaders and the public, potentially worsening divisions in the country.
Tukienda tena kuingia kwa mtego ambao tumetegewa na huyu Kahiga, tutaweza kupoteza zile steps mingi ambazo tumefanya kuhakikisha kwamba kuna unity na kuna utengamano wa jamii zote katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. So let us please not be taken to the pit hole that Governor Kahiga wants to take us into, to start profiling each other. Let that matter lie. Let us not overemphasize it, because the more we talk about it, the more we emphasize it, the more we debate it, the more we ask you who sent him, who didn't send him. It is seeking us to the hole that he perhaps intended us to get. Let us not fall that trap. Nasemekana ukiona lori takataka la pita, alafu uanze kubishana nalo, pia wewe utajipaka nini? Taka. So let that lie.
All right, moving on, Raila Odinga Jr. was on Thursday formally installed as the new head of the Odinga family during a traditional ceremony held at their family home in Bondo. This comes 1 week after the death of his father, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, was buried on Sunday. And according to Siaya Senator and Raila's elder brother, Oburu Odinga, this marked the symbolic transfer of family leadership to the late ODM leader's son. Junior was issued with a spear shield and adorned with an animal skin cloak.
This is a very great day for us, the 4th day, and we did that when my father Jaramogi left us, and we don't want to disregard the culture, because even in the Bible, you know, there was Isaac and Jacob.
All right, Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi now says his continued wars in the county are the result of political persecution occasioned by his refusal to let MPs loot county coffers and grab public land. Wamatangi's administration has been criticized for his handling of the health sector with the dumping accusations of baby death in hospitals within the counties due to lack of enough doctors. Now, the governor claims that this is a continuation of political campaign against him. He said that after the election, leaders demanded favors like permission to grab public land and inflated tenders, which he refused, therefore allegedly launching attacks at him.
Gavana wao wamuleta, lakini niliwaambia wakimleta huyo gavana wanalete ajue gavana anapitianga kwa wananchi. Ama namna gani jameni? Hakuna anapitia kwa dirisha, anapitia kwa hawa. Na kama ukiingia kwa hiyo ofisi, hao ndio wenye kibali na ndio wenye funguo. Ama namna gani jameni? So hiyo kusema ati tuleta nyinyi leteni, na unajua niwaambie mchana kabisa. Ile kitu wanataka ni kuleta yule mtu atatenda zile vitu wanataka zitendwe. Wamatangi alikataa. Yes, walikuja hapa kuitisha mimi nataka contract, mimi nataka nini, na contract yao wanatakanga akiitisha contract ile mimi najenga shule na shilingi milioni 4 kumaliza shule mzima, wanataka kulipwa 15 million. Ndio mtu wakilipwa ako na mfuko na ya kukula huko. Nikamwambia
now, university lecturers have insisted that they will not return to classrooms until their demands are met. The strike by university lecturers has now lasted for more than 30 days, while students continue to wait in hope that the impasse will be resolved soon. Lecturers from Moi University in Eldoret have vowed to continue the strike until their demands are fully implemented. They have blamed the government for neglecting the education of students in public universities, noting that their own children do not study universities within the country.
Who is this who is interested to kill the Kenyan society by killing education? Who is this, and what is the interest of these persons who want to destroy the country called Kenya? Because when you destroy education, who is this that is not interested about the over 500,000 young people who are in our public universities? Who is this who is determined to ensure that these people don't have a life?
Niko tuna swali moja kwa hii serikali. Do you really value education? Because kama wangekuwa na value education na wangengojea hii mgomo ifike 37 days, imekuwa too much. And too much of something is poisonous.
As far as we are concerned, there's no activity, no academic activity that is going on in Moi University. And in fact, most of our students have, after staying around for the 30-something days and have run out of their monies and whatever, is a very unfortunate situation, have been forced to go home.
Now, a group of activists in Kenya staged a demonstration yesterday outside the offices of the Attorney General in Nairobi, demanding urgent government action following the disappearance of 2 human rights defenders, that is Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo, who were allegedly abducted in Uganda. And according to reports from Amnesty International Kenya, Vocal Africa and the Law Society of Kenya, Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo were attending opposition campaigns in Uganda before they were reportedly kidnapped by individuals believed to be Ugandan security officers. Uganda has so far denied allegations of detaining the activists.
Nchi yetu ya Kenya tunayoipenda, tuwe tayari kuilinda na tujenge taifa letu. Ndio wajibu wetu. Kenya istahili heshima, tuungane mikono pamoja. pamoja kazini.
Now, the Archbishop of the African Israel Nineveh Church, John Muresa, is set to know his sentence on the 10th of the next month. This follows a ruling by resident magistrate Nicodemus Museiti on Thursday, who found him guilty of fraud involving church land in Shebrok, Vihiga County. Magistrate Museiti stated that the court has enough evidence to convict Muresa of offenses including falsifying ownership documents of the church land. The bishop expected to remain in custody until his sentence is delivered. The case has been taken nearly 15 years since the church was closed following the killing of more than 10 people due to the land dispute.
I decline to grant the accused preferential treatment. Accordingly, I hereby order that the accused is bond, be, and is hereby cancelled. He shall be remanded in custody forthwith. I order for a pre-sentence report, mention for sentencing on 10th day of November.
Now, two former DCI officers, Cleopas Wambua Musinga and James Omwami, have yesterday appeared in Kibera law courts over alleged theft. The two officers alleged abducted Praveen Koril Kipkemoi on July 16th from his workplace in Bangadi before stealing from him. The suspects allegedly took his phone worth 200,000 shillings, demanded ransom from his contacts, withdrew 80,000 Kenya shillings from his M-Pesa, and later dumped him in a ditch along a river. Now, the two were arrested yesterday in Kitengela, or the day before yesterday in Kitengela, where police recovered 7 phones, SIM cards, 2 national IDs, car number plates, a pair of handcuffs, and a tear gas canister and explosives. Principal Magistrate Daisy Mutai granted investigators 8 days for further investigations.
8 days for further investigations.
Reasons, moja ikiwa ya kwamba investigating officer ataweza kuestablish mahali mnaishi, so saizi ataweza kujua kama mko na place ambaye ni fixed pa kuishi, na pia kuna ile investigation hawajaweza kumaliza, mumesikia kitutajia hapo, ikiwemo kuna explosive ambaye ilikuwa recovered, number plates na hata masimu. So unaona sasa kama explosive hiyo ni jambo.
Now, the Senate Committee on Health has toured Kitui County to assess the state of healthcare services in various hospitals across the region. The committee, chaired by Kisii Senator Richard Onyonka, expressed concerns over the poor state of healthcare delivery in Kitui County hospitals. Now, the senators emphasized that it is the responsibility of both the county and national governments to collaborate in improving the health care sector to ensure that citizens do not suffer when seeking essential medical services. Additionally, the committee called on the Ministry of Health to speed up the supply of resources and medical equipment to county hospitals in order to enhance service delivery.
I'm Dr. John Mungai.
We've been at the lab. You know how it looks like. We've checked at the blood bank, the blood center, the machines. You know what we are talking about. And the general human resource attitude of our people as we've been engaging. You know our position. For me, I don't want to preempt, but we'll do a very clear report. We've been at the pharmacy and the stores. You know how it has been. So we'll do a very straightforward report under recommendations led by the chair.
It's been really an intense day. Everywhere we've been, actually, the issues that are there are issues that can be addressed. I mean, they are not out of this world. Ile kitu mimi imeniudhi kama mama, kama kiongozi, ni hospitali mzima na kaunti yote ya Kitui haina mashine ya mammogram. Mashine inayostahili kufanya scan yetu sisi wa mama, kufanya scan ya matiti. Na kama haipo, jamani, mama wanaenda all the way Nairobi, wanaenda all the way Machakos, ni jambo la kuhuzunisha.
Now, a new wave of innovation is changing the way cities manage waste. The introduction of biodigester technology is providing an environmentally friendly solution that turns everyday waste into useful resources, clean water and cooking gas, all without order and minimal cost. Biodigester technology is transforming urban waste management systems by providing an environmentally friendly alternative. Through natural biological processes, the biodigester converts waste into clean water and cooking gas without order and at minimal cost. This technology is recognized as an important step towards sustainable living and improved access to clean water.
So you can be sure the same thing that is sold in Nairobi, it's the same thing we will sell in Malindi or in Kisumu or in a remote village somewhere in Bere. It's very effective compared to the traditional. I've had traditional septic tanks in other places where I have stayed. And we always had issues. After every 2 years, we had to exhaust. So having gone 5 years, I would say it's quite effective. It's been...
Now, the Kenya women's national football team, the Harambee Starlets, continue their preparations ahead of the crucial WAFCON 2026 qualifying match against Gambia. The Starlets are set to battle their rivals tomorrow at Nyayo Stadium, which is today, aiming to secure a win in the first round of the qualifiers. Gambia held their training session yesterday at 3 p.m. at Nyayo Stadium as they geared up for the important match. The Kenyan team is optimistic about overcoming Gambia and advancing further in the competition. All right, 32 minutes past the top of the hour. Due for a short breather here on The Drift, but when you come back, we'll tell you what exactly the newspapers are saying. Don't go too far. All right, I do apologize for that. My name is Martin Mashara, just in case you're joining us. This is The Drift. Let's take a look on what's making headlines on the dailies today. And I'm having the Daily Nation newspaper and the Standard newspaper dated today, the 24th day of October 2025. And top story on the Daily Nation says, another cabinet reshuffle looms. And there's a picture there of the head of state, that is President William Ruto, and Gideon Moi on the other end of the this Daily Nation newspaper, and it says power games. Technical teams appointed by President Ruto and Kanu Chairman Gideon Moi are working on the final details of an agreement for members of the Independence Party to secure state appointments, including cabinet positions. The death of ODM leader Raila Odinga is also likely to influence the changes. That's a story on page 4 and 5. And of course, you'll remember the last cabinet reshuffle was fueled by the anti-government demonstrations during last year's demonstrations, and of course they were reshuffled, and of course also later on, after they had an agreement, a broad-based agreement with the ODM party, there were we also saw reshuffles in the Kenya's cabinet by the head of state. Now this particular newspaper says, according to sources close to the President, the changes have become even more urgent following the death of ODM leader Raila Odinga, the man Dr. Ruto turned to last year when Gen Z's protesters threatened to his hold on power. Now, Odinga's death has left a glaring political vacuum and disrupted the delicate balance that defined Kenya's new broad-based government. Now, now that Odinga is gone, President William Ruto faces the task of recalibrating his unity project to ensure sustainability of the stability ahead of 2027. Now, KANU Secretary General, that is George Wainaina, confirmed the ongoing operations between the two leaders, describing it a unity-based partnership rather than one based on patronage. He said that party experts are working on the final details of the new cooperation, which will see a number of Moi's allies secure plum position. Now, the pact that Dr. Ruto and Moi are expected to sign will see KANU's return to the heart of power after years in the political wilderness. Cabinet positions and other roles are in return for Moi, abandoning his senatorial ambitions in the November 27 by-elections in Baringo. Now, the president and the KANU leader, who are arch rivals, had a surprise meeting at State House on October 9th, and the head of state visited the Kabarak home of the late President Moi Gideon's father the following day to firm up the reapproached agreements in State House. Right now, that's what's up on what's making headlines in the political arena. Of course, you'll remember that the head of state, that is President William Ruto, have rather had a meeting. Of course, they agreed they had an tete-to-tete meeting. Of course, they had the agreements. Of course, I shall be seeing what will unfold after, of course, those discussions. Also, other stories making headlines on the Daily Nation. Junior secondary school teachers, other junior school teachers fight for autonomy goes to court. Now, teachers have asked the court to stop implementation of the comprehensive school policy, which places the primary and junior secondary schools under the head teacher. Right now, we're taking a short breather here on the program. We'll be back in just a bit. Don't go too far.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Secondary schools under one head teacher. The son installed as head of the family, and Raila Jr. undergoes a traditional ritual during his installation as the head of the family 4 days after the burial of his father, that is the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, at their Opoda farm farm home in Bondo, Siaya County. That's a story on page 10. Of course, if you saw that particular, proceedings that were going on yesterday, you saw that Raila Jr. Was actually shaved his head, in honor, and of course, of his slain father. And I don't know what's a tradition when, someone dies. How do you show respect to that particular person? Tell us through our SMS line to 3059. Now let's take a look at that particular story on page 10 of the Daily Nation. And the event, which was held yesterday, led by his uncle Buru Ginga, marked a cultural milestone for the family. It was the formal passing of authority and responsibility in the household following the death and burial of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga last week. Now, Senator Oginga, the elder brother of Odinga, said the ceremony was deeply rooted in Luo traditions that guide family transitions. Now, he emphasized that it was not a political event, but blessings and a customary handover of domestic leadership. All right. Now, Dr. Odinga added that while Junior would held the household, the larger Odinga family remains under his authority as a patriarch. And according to Luo customs, of course, what is actually named there in Luo says Chiengma Angwen, says the 4th day after burial marks the formal end of mourning. Now the Odinga family gathered to perform the rites that installed the closure of mourning. Dr. Odinga added that the Odingas followed the traditions and rites that were performed when their patriarch Jaramogi Oginga Odinga died and was buried in January 19th, or January 1994. And it symbolizes cleansing, rather the shaving of their head symbolizes cleansing, renewal, and transition from mourning to continuity. Now, and the restoration of life's balance after death has passed through our home. All right, that's what's up on matters, Raila Jr. assuming Odinga's household leadership after rituals. Also, another top story making headlines on the Daily Nation says pilot recounts flying moments with former PM. Also, that's on page 10 of the Daily Nation. Other stories making headlines of the Daily Nation is pressure mounting for the release of the 2 Kenyans still missing in Uganda. And the families of Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo are pleading with the governments of Kenya and Uganda to help find the 2 activists who abducted in Kampala 3 weeks ago. A Ugandan court has dismissed a petition on the duo. And of course, it is so worrying and so saddening that there has been no state official statement from maybe the people in authority in the country saying maybe we are following up with the matter, or we have talked with the Ugandan side, they have said this and this and this, and the silence is actually worrying. And the old man pursued his that is activist Bob Njagi's father, hopeful that his son and his colleague abducted in Kampala weeks ago will be set free. And according to the old man, his hand clenching the arm, his chair on the veranda, and his home in Kitengela in Kajiado County, he seemed to, anchoring himself against a storm that only he could feel. Frank Njagi is an 84-year-old, the father of activist Bob Njagi, and has been a troubled man since his son and his colleague Nicholas Oyo were abducted in Uganda on October 1st. His eyes, red-rimmed from lack of sleep and a frantic search, revealed the extent of distress, and every sound outside the gate alley adds to the anxiety. Right? Now, the other 3 weeks, over 3 weeks has passed since Njagi, his son, and Mr. Oyo vanished in Kampala. The 2 families say they have not received any official communication from the Ugandan or Kenyan government regarding the fate of the 2. What started as a disappearance is quickly escalating into a diplomatic and human rights problem. Right? And it's so worrying that even yesterday we actually saw, the wife to Bob Njagi yesterday was pleading with, the authorities to bring closure to the family. And of course, now Bob Njagi's father is pleading, with the government, both governments, to set free their kins who are allegedly abducted in Kampala by alleged police officers in Kampala. And of course, other stories making headlines on the Daily Nation: how household items exposed killer in Mtwapa murder case that matters corridors of justice. Now, listen to this story. And a mosquito net, toaster, luminac plates, bed covers, fruit mixer, blow dryer, and iron box, ordinary household items, became a crucial evidence that nailed a murder suspect accused of killing a woman in Mtwapa and stuffing her body inside a wardrobe. These items led to the High Court to find Robert Wali Aula Kisu guilty of the brutal murder of Mtwapa businesswoman and Jacqueline Ngina Kitheka, turning what he once a lively home into a scene of horror. Ngina, a hard-working entrepreneur, was killed as she prepared to marry her British fiancé, Harry Harrington. Right? No, though there was no eyewitnesses, the High Court in Mombasa relied on a chain of events, witnesses' testimony, and exhibits recovered from Shylock, where Waliula had deposited the items on security for a soft loan. Now, the first prosecution witness, Scholastica Magoha, told the court that Waliaula had been the boyfriend since March 2020. She invited him to live with her in Mtwapa House, where they, cohabited until November that year before moving to Mombasa. Now, one day, she said, police called asking about him. She helped identify several items he had brought home, items she later learned belonged to Jacqueline. Now, on May 2nd of 2021, she recalled how he left unusually early, around 3 a.m. and returned 2 hours later with a TV, a fan, and some extension cables. Her testimony became a vital thread linking the accused to the murder, or rather to the murdered woman's property. Ngina's cousin, Mary Nduko, told the court she was among the first to enter Jacqueline's house after her disappearance. The house was in disarray, missing a TV, laptop, shoes, mosquito nets, luminac plates, a gas cooker, and traveling bag. Of course, the story goes on and on and on and on page 3 of the Daily Nation. And one may wonder how, this love triangle sometimes, turns tragic, right? You should know the type of person who you associate, or rather, you choose to be with for the rest of your life. All right, that's what's up on the Daily Nation newspaper this particular morning. Let's take a look on what's making headlines on, what they term as the bold newspaper. That is the Standard newspaper. And top story on the Standard newspaper, the front page of the Standard newspaper says, Ruto after Raila, and it has a continuation. Now, Raila Odinga's death has ignited a fierce political battle, with President William Ruto moving swiftly to capture the late opposition leader's vast support base ahead of 2027. Sources say the president is plotting a grand realignment from the merging ODM with UDA to purging dissenters and installing loyalists across Raila's heartlands in Nyanza Coast and the Maa region, but the resistance is already blazing. ODM diehards accuse Ruto of trying to hijack and hollow out the party from within. That's on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. And of course, the up is there of, top people in actually, there is a chess, how chess is a chess table, how it is designed. Of course, on this side, it is, it has pictures of ODM leaders, and of course, on the other end, it has the Kenya Kwanza, of course, which is allied to the head of state, and there are pictures there of Joho, that is the CS, the Blue Economy CS, and of course, Nairobi Senator, who also doubles up as the CG of, that is the Secretary General of ODM, that is Edwin Sifuna, that is, and also there is Gladys Wanga, Babu Owino, and of course, many other pictures there of leaders allied to the ODM party. Now let's take a look at that particular story on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. And of course, this story is actually similar to that one on the Daily Nation, but the Daily Nation all focuses on, the reshuffle of, the cabinets, now that the head of state, had an tete-to-tete with Gideon Moi, who's the son to the late second president of the Republic of Kenya, that is President Arap Moi. Now, Ruto burning midnight oil to find ways to win over Raila supporters. And of course, there is a picture there on page 4 of the late former Prime Minister and opposition leader Raila Odinga. And the passing of ODM leader Raila Odinga last week has complicated President William Ruto's political plans, as it has forced him to reevaluate his game plan of the 2027 general elections. This is after plans of a coalition with ODM have been toppled. For his survival, the president is reportedly weighing the option of using his influence and his memorandum of understanding with the late Raila's party to convince the ODM leaders, and for formalities, there are working arrangements. Now, some of the options on the table include collapsing of the ruling party to officially joining the UDA party. All right. Now, the altering both the UDA and ODM parties to form a new party, where he will be the party leader and the flag bearer of the elections. Another option the Standard, has learned is to use his influence to elect out the rebels within ODM, replacing them with sympathizers as the officials who will be his point men, especially Luo Nyanza, and to have other regional parties in Raila's strongholds outside Nyanza, such as Coast and Ma, install senior elected leaders as party leaders. Of course, you remember during the burial of the late former Prime Minister, that is Raila Odinga, there were conflicting remarks from within the ODM party, of which some of the leaders who allied to the ODM says we will continue to support the current government as as our former late leader envisioned to support the government. But others also said that the ODM will either be in the government or form the other government. All right. Now, there are conflicting remarks witnessed during the burial of the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and of course there might be a rift between the ODM party, and of course now President William Ruto is now maybe seeking to get rather a fan base in other areas of the country, where now he has started engaging with the late president's son, that is Gideon Moi. What maybe is seen to build or to create his fan base ahead of the 2027 general elections. I don't know what's your take on that. I don't know what's your take on ODM leaders, other members of the ODM saying this and others saying this. And of course, the head of state actually said during the burial of Raila Odinga, he said that he will ensure that those who want to to set apart the ODM party, he won't allow he said that he won't allow the ODM party to seem like it's vanishing. All right. That's what's up on matters politics in the country. Now, President William Ruto also on page 5 defends cybercrimes laws, denies it was designed in secret. And President William Ruto has defended his decision to sign into law the 8 bills, among them the Computer Misuse of Cybercrimes Amendment Act of 2025, on the day former Prime Minister Raila Odinga died. The president said the legislation is meant to shield Kenyans, especially children, teenagers and youth, from the growing dangers of internet-related crimes. Ruto dismissed criticism that the bill, insisting the process was transparent and constitutionally guided. He said the amendments were long overdue and aimed at, modernizing Kenya's cyber laws to match global standards as digital crime grows more sophisticated. Speaking during, of course, the funeral of the father of IG Kanja, that is Weston Kirocho, in Laikipia, that is in Dome, Laikipia County. The president said the new law was necessary to safeguard the national security and restore order in the digital space. The High Court has temporarily suspended the implementation of certain provisions of the Act, citing concerns of a possible violations of privacy, freedom, and freedom of expression and access to information. All right, and I don't know what you make of that. You know, the Cyber Crimes Amendment Act of 2025, and of course the court had barred, you know, the continuation of, you know, the signing of the Cybercrime Act of 2025. Also, Matters Corridors of Justice Court issues second directive to shelve the controversial law. Now, the Law Society of Kenya, that is LSK, yesterday secured interim orders to suspend the enforcement of crucial sections of the cybercrime laws. Justice Lawrence Mugambi of the Milimani High Court, for the second time, issued a conservatory orders halting the implementation of Section 27, subsection 1B, C and 2 of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Amendment Act of 2025, pending the hearing of the LSK petition, that is the Law Society of Kenya. Now, the order came a day after the judge issued a similar order following a case filed by former presidential candidate Reuben Kigami and Kenya Human Rights Commission on Wednesday. LSK accuses the President William Ruto of secretly assenting to law the October 15, just hours after the nation was plunged into mourning following the death of former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, the case pits the LSK against Attorney General and the Cabinet Secretary for Information, Communication and the Digital Economy and the Communications Authority of Kenya and the Inspector General of Police. And according to court papers, the contested sections introduced new criminal liabilities that are broad, imprecise and unconstitutional. One of the amendments, Section 27, subsection 1B, now criminalizes the publication of false and misleading information. That is, you know, what the standard quote unquote says is likely to cause another person to commit suicide. All right. Other stories making headlines on the Standard newspaper this morning. Boy battles for his life after torture in police cells. And of course, we will wonder how brutal our security forces have been. And a 17-year-old student is fighting for his life in Narok County Referral Hospital after he was allegedly assaulted while in custody at Narosura Police Station in Narok Sub-County. Now, the Form 2 student was arrested on October 10th at around 2 p.m. at Narosura Shopping Center on suspicion of stealing tractor parts. He appeared in court on October 13th. Speaking from his hospital bed, the boy claimed that police officers tortured him using metal chains and poured acid on his legs to force a confession to a crime he says he did not commit. He also said his family was denied access. Doctors have described his condition as critical, warning that severe infections on both legs could lead to amputation. Hospital sources said he was rushed to theater yesterday morning for emergency surgery as his wounds had begun peeling off. The minor's mother said she was devastated when she first saw her son in the hospital. And of course, I think, people should, stop watching a lot of movies. These are police officers who, have undergone school, from primary school, all the way to training to be a police officer. And of course, they pouring acid on a 17-year-old boy, for a confession, for, stealing tractor parts. It's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate, how brutal our security forces are turning to be. And of course, we hope that, the family and the boy will be served justice. All right. Now, the government evicts developer from 35 million Kenya shillings property. That's on page 5 of the Standard newspaper. Now the government has taken possession of 35 million parcel of land next to the Bungoma State Launch in Milimani area. And of course, you'll remember that this particular matter was actually making headlines last week. The developer and the county government were actually conflicting with, saying who has the right, the actual rights to own that particular parcel of land. And County Commissioner Thomas Sankei yesterday said the government has moved to enforce the eviction orders issued by the Environment and Land Court in Bungoma, requiring the grabbed to vacate the property. The private developer was evicted from the half an acre property on Tuesday after the expiry of the time given to vacate. Activists applauded the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for the move. And of course, that's a story that goes on and on page 5, of course, on page 5 of the Standard newspaper. Also, the story is making headlines on the Standard newspaper. Privatization laws sparks fears of a sale of public assets, grabbing of land. That's on page 6. Also, Eldoret City board chair nominee accused of presenting fake degree. And of course, yesterday, actually, the Moi University denied the certificates of the Eldoret City board chair nominee, which now he was presenting fake degree. Now, the Moi University confirmed that the copy of certificate presented by Julius Kitur was not issued by the institution. A resident filed a case contesting the entire nomination process, arguing it was illegal and unconstitutional. Now, the nominee for the chairman of the Eldoret City Board, Julius Kitur, is under scrutiny after a university claimed that he had presented a fake degree to the Uasin Gishu Public Service Board and an assembly committee. Moi University confirmed on Wednesday that a bachelor's degree in business management presented by Kitur as a part of his academic credentials was not issued by the institution. The confirmation from Moi University's Office of Academic Affairs through Deputy Vice Chancellor Professor Kayemba Ongeti came just hours after Kitur was vetted by the Uasin Gishu County Assembly's Committee on Appointments. During the vetting, Kitur told the committee that he had enrolled at Moi University of a Bachelor of Business Management, Human Resource Management option and graduated in 2011 with a second-class honors, that is upper division. However, the letter signed by the perpetual baton on behalf of the Professor Ngeti and addressed to the clerk of the Uasin Gishu County Assembly stated that the degree certificate serial number, which is actually stated there, was not the authentic, raising questions over the nominee's integrity. And, this actually a quite interesting story. This nominee appears for vetting for the Eldoret City Board chairpersonship. And of course, Moi University actually refutes his degrees credentials, saying that certificate was, is not from that particular institution. And one may wonder how many fake degrees do we have, in the public offices, people serving in the public offices, how many do we have that are fake? And of course, this is actually not a matter coming up. Now we have seen, leaders, people saying their certificates are fake, he didn't study this particular institution. And of course, people faking their, academic credentials, to get a spot in government. And of course, it's quite worrying how, how people are making their way up there, faking certificates. And of course, and actually when this person is actually not, trustworthy, if you can fake a certificate, what if he gets this particular public office? These people actually, seem to squander public assets if, they get to these particular positions, and we hope that, their visions will be dashed. All right? Moving on to other matters making headlines in the corridors of justice. Court of Appeal has eviction of Njoro's quarters pending hearing. That's on page 7 of the Standard newspaper. Also, Tana River is in fresh efforts to secure fragile marine resources. Also, that's on page 7. Also, agency disconnects water to Kilifi over unpaid bill. Also, that's on page 7 of the daily or the Standard newspaper. Now, because I'm a sports person, let's take a look on what's making headlines in the world of sports. And the Harambee Starlets to clash with Gambia in WAFCON qualifier. Now, also the return leg will be played on Tuesday in Senegal, if you like. Now, Harambee Stars will today take on Gambia Queens Champions in the 2026 Women African Cup of Nations, that is WAFCON. Third round qualifier match at Nyayo Stadium. Starlets must fire from the cylinders to enhance their chances of securing their return to the African stage. They will be looking to draw the first blood ahead of the return leg set for Tuesday at the Stade Lat Dior in this Senegal. A win in Nairobi will be a step closer, to qualifying to the now expanded WAFCON that will, feature 16 teams. This is an increase of 4 nations from the previous 12. All right, Starlets are determined to make their second appearance, having made their debut in 2016 after eliminating Algeria in the final round of the qualifiers. Harambee Starlets coach, that is Berlin Odemba, said that it is an important fixture, for her charges as well as the country. And of course, we're wishing the Harambee Starlets good luck, even as they head to, represent our country in the world of sports. All right, it is exactly 18 minutes past the, actually 14 minutes past the top of the hour. And of course, we'll be continue, to keep tabs with these particular developing stories, and we'll be bringing you in our subsequent bulletins later on in the day at 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m., of course, 9 p.m., even as they continue to to unfold. My name is Martin Mashara. You've been watching The Drifts. And of course, many thanks for being part of the program. Coming up next in the top of the hour is the State of the Nation, about the leadership challenge. They're going to discuss matters State of the Nation and how, as far as the governance, of course, of this country is concerned. You stay tuned in for that particular conversation that's coming up in the top of the hour later on at 9 a.m. Right, 15 minutes past the top of the hour. My name is Martin Mashara. Do yourself a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your viewing, and as always, let's do this again when God says we do.